Michael Jordan is undeniably one of the greatest athletes in history.
Some drive by Michael Jordan. Right side cuts back left down the lane. Spectacular performance from Michael Jordan.
A cultural icon who revolutionized basketball and inspired generations of players. 6 NBA championships, 5 MVP awards, countless clutch moments. Jordan's career is the gold standard for greatness. But beyond his legendary performances lies a more complex side to his legacy, his lifelong obsession with gambling. While his gambling didn't tarnish his on-court dominance, it remains one of the most controversial aspects of his life and career. From high-stakes golf matches to post-game wagers with janitors, Jordan's gambling has been both a source of fascination and debate for decades.
Do you have a gambling problem?
The New York Times said today Jordan was seen in the hotel's casino as late as 2:30 in the morning.
If they want to gamble, we gamble.
Michael Jordan owed him more than $1.2 million, a result of gambling on their golf matches.
No, I enjoy it. It's a hobby. If I had a problem, I'd be starving.
To understand Michael Jordan's relationship with gambling, you first have to understand his mindset. Jordan wasn't just competitive. He was obsessive about winning. Whether it was a Game 7 in the NBA Finals or a casual round of golf, Jordan approached every competition with the same intensity. He didn't just want to win.
That spot on the shot of the air. Good!
He needed to win. This drive extended far beyond basketball. Jordan has said himself, "I don't have a gambling problem, I have a competition problem." This mentality explains why he was willing to bet on almost anything: cards, golf, pool, even coin tosses. For Jordan, gambling wasn't about the money. It was about the thrill of competition and proving he could outwit and outperform his opponents in every setting. Even during his early days in the NBA, Jordan's gambling habits were noticeable. Teammates recounted stories of Jordan betting on card games during team flights or spending hours at casinos on off days. His legendary competitiveness meant that he wouldn't back down from a wager, no matter how big or small. In one famous story, Jordan and his teammates would play high-stakes poker games on team flights. While most players would participate for fun, Jordan's wagers were often massive, with thousands of dollars changing hands in a single night. According to teammates, Jordan hated losing so much that he'd stay up for hours after a loss, replaying the game in his mind and strategizing for the next round.
This is how big of a competitor he was, and Will knows this story too, right? So we're playing this game called Tom, and I'm beating him out of his money, all right? This is about 11 o'clock at night. This guy does not go home until 7 o'clock in the morning, until he wins all of his money back.
One of the most infamous anecdotes about Jordan's gambling took place after a game, involving someone who had no connection to basketball, a janitor. After a blowout win,
Total humiliation for the Utah Jazz. Beaten by 42.
Jordan, still high on adrenaline, found himself with time to kill. Looking for his next competitive fix, he noticed the janitor cleaning up the locker room. Jordan challenged the janitor to a simple game of pitching quarters, who could get their coin closest to the wall.
I give y'all 4 tries to beat mine. One toss.
One toss?
It was a game with no stakes other than pride, until Jordan, true to form, upped the ante. Soon they were betting money, with Jordan determined to beat the janitor no matter what.
Put your money up first, bro. I've seen it.
How much, $20?
Yep.
While the story is often told with humor, it's a revealing glimpse into Jordan's need to compete, even when the stakes were laughably low.
Security! Come get security out of here.
Jordan's gambling became a national controversy during the 1993 Eastern Conference Finals. The Chicago Bulls were in the middle of a grueling playoff series against the New York Knicks, and all eyes were on Jordan to lead the team to another championship. But after the Bulls lost Game 1 at Madison Square Garden, rumors began circulating that Jordan had been spotted at an Atlantic City casino late the night before Game 2. The tabloids exploded. Critics questioned Jordan's commitment to the game and whether his late-night gambling had impacted his performance. Jordan denied that it had any effect on his play, but the media frenzy was relentless. The Bulls eventually won the series and went on to capture their 3rd straight championship, but the incident left a lasting stain on Jordan's public image. Later, in 1993, Jordan's gambling habits became the focus of a legal investigation.
Michael's love for being on top may be causing him to scrape the bottom of his bank account.
On the witness stand, he looked uncomfortable when he talked about the high-stakes golf matches, which led to checks like these. More than $100,000 lost in golf and card games.
During a court case, it was revealed that Jordan had written a $57,000 check to a man named James Slim Buhler, who was later convicted of money laundering. Jordan initially claimed the money was a loan, but later admitted it was to settle gambling debts from golf matches. This revelation only fueled the narrative that Jordan's gambling was out of control. Critics speculated about how much money he had lost over the years and whether it could eventually tarnish his legacy. Jordan, however, remained defiant, insisting that his gambling never impacted his ability to perform on the court.
A breaking story here. The Chicago Bulls have called a press conference for tomorrow morning, and there's high speculation and a report that Michael Jordan will retire from basketball forever.
Those close to Jordan insist this was a very well thought out decision several years in the making.
Different speculations about my reasons for not playing, but I've always stressed to people that have known me and the media that has followed me that when I lose the sense of motivation and the sense of to prove something as a basketball player, it's time for me to move away from the game of basketball.
When Jordan shocked the world by retiring from basketball in 1993, rumors immediately began swirling about the real reason for his decision. While Jordan cited the emotional toll of his father's murder as the primary reason, some speculated that the NBA had quietly forced him to step away due to his gambling habits. The theory was that the league wanted to avoid the PR nightmare of disciplining its biggest star, instead opting for a behind-the-scenes arrangement. NBA Commissioner David Stern and Jordan both denied these allegations, calling them baseless. Jordan's 2-year hiatus remains one of the most debated moments in sports history. While Jordan's gambling controversies often centered around basketball, his love for golf was where his wagers truly escalated. Jordan reportedly played for tens of thousands of dollars per hole, often competing against other athletes, celebrities, and professional golfers. His golf partners frequently commented on his intensity and willingness to bet staggering amounts. In one famous story, former NFL player Richard Esquinas claimed in his book, Michael and Me, Our Gambling Addiction, that Jordan owed him over $1.2 million in golf-related bets. The story caused a media firestorm, with some questioning whether Jordan's gambling habits were sustainable even with his immense wealth.
I just felt that it was unfair that I was being considered a criminal for doing something that is not illegal. Gambling is legal.
Gambling problem at all?
No, because I can stop gambling. I have a competition problem.
Despite the controversies, Jordan has always maintained that his gambling was under control. I can stop gambling, he told 60 Minutes in a 2005 interview. I have a competition problem, a competitive problem, and while his gambling made headlines, it never seemed to affect his performance on the court. If anything, Jordan thrived under pressure, often using criticism as fuel to prove his doubters wrong. Teammates and coaches have also defended him, pointing out that Jordan never let his off-court habits interfere with his preparation or focus. Phil Jackson, Jordan's longtime coach, once said, Michael could compartmentalize his life better than anyone I've ever met. He'd gamble, he'd play golf, and then he'd come to practice and work harder than anyone else. It's worth noting that Jordan's gambling was often scrutinized far more heavily than similar behaviors from other athletes. Some argue that this was because Jordan was held to an impossibly high standard as the face of the NBA. Others believe the media exaggerated his gambling habits to create controversy around a player who seemed otherwise invincible. In today's NBA, gambling is less taboo. The league has partnerships with sports betting companies, and players openly discuss their betting habits. Had Jordan's gambling occurred in this era, it's likely it wouldn't have generated nearly as much controversy. Instead, it would have been seen as part of his competitive nature, another facet of what made him the ultimate competitor. Michael Jordan's gambling habits remain a fascinating and controversial aspect of his legacy. While they sparked countless headlines and debates, they never detracted from his on-court greatness. If anything, they highlighted the intensity of his competitive spirit, a trait that made him both legendary and human.
The problem, I enjoy gambling. Soon, whenever I walk away from this game, I think that's the only thing that people are going to say was a bad thing about Michael Jordan.
Jordan wasn't perfect, but perfection isn't what made him great. It was his relentless drive to win, whether on the court, at the golf course, or pitching quarters with a janitor. That drive, for better or worse, is what defined him. And no amount of gambling stories will ever change the fact that Michael Jordan remains the greatest basketball player of all time.